The WNBA just hit the self-destruct button, and the shockwaves are tearing through every locker room in America. Just days ago, the world was glued to their screens for a massive NBC announcement. Caitlin Clark, the league's undisputed Golden Girl, was officially joining the NBC sports analyst desk. It was supposed to be a moment of celebration, a sign that women's basketball had finally hit the big leagues. But instead of cheers, what we're hearing is a deafening explosion of rage from the veterans who feel abandoned by a system that has chosen its new favorite child. We aren't just talking about petty jealousy or some rookie versus vet rivalry anymore. This is financial warfare. As the WNBA Players Association prepares for a potential strike that could wipe out the entire 2026 season, Caitlin Clark just secured a media deal that makes her strike-proof. She's getting paid while others face the prospect of zero income. The locker room is a tinderbox. Legends like Diana Taurasi and Breanna Stewart are reportedly livid, witnessing a rookie bypass the struggle they've endured for decades. Tonight, we pull back the curtain on the secret meetings at Madison Square Garden. We are looking at the jealousy crisis that is threatening to derail the league before a single ball is tipped. Is Caitlin Clark a traitor to the union, or is she the only one smart enough to play the game outside the lines? We have the behind-the-scenes footage, the leaked player reactions, and the brutal truth about the power shift that NBC just forced upon the world. The WNBA is officially in chaos, and Caitlin Clark is standing in the middle of it with a microphone. Buckle up, because the Caitlin effect just turned into a nuclear fallout. This is the reality behind the explosion. Do not look away. The announcement came like a lightning bolt in the middle of an already tense off-season. NBC Sports, the network that defined the golden era of the NBA, didn't just invite Caitlin Clark for a guest spot. They crowned her a special contributor for the debut of Sunday Night Basketball. This was a calculated strategic strike. For the first time in history, a current WNBA player, one with only a single season under her belt, was being placed on a pedestal alongside Hall of Famers like Carmelo Anthony and Vince Carter. Plus one, the optics were jarring for the rest of the league. While players like Kelsey Plum and Aja Wilson were deep in the trenches of the Collective Bargaining Agreement, CBA, negotiations, fighting for basic increases in salary and travel conditions, Caitlin was walking into a climate-controlled studio in New York City. The explosion from the players started the moment the press release hit the wire. To the veterans, this felt like a betrayal of the sisterhood. They saw it as the league and its media partners, choosing to hyper-focus on one individual, while the rest of the players were being told to be patient for their crumbs. But let's look at why NBC made this move. It wasn't about basketball alone. It was about the Caitlin economy. Ratings for her debut segment at Madison Square Garden outperformed actual NBA games in certain demographics, or NBC. Executive producer Sam Flood didn't mince words. He called her captivating and a dynamic scorer in all of basketball, not just the women's game. This phrasing was the spark that lit the fuse. By removing the women's qualifier, NBC effectively told every other WNBA player that they are in a different, lower category of stardom. The tension boiled over behind the scenes during the Lakers-Knicks pregame. Insiders report that the WNBA Players Association group chats were on fire. The primary grievance? Leverage. Every time Caitlin Clark succeeds outside the league, it weakens the union's collective bargaining power. If the league's biggest draw doesn't need the league to survive financially, why would the owners feel pressured to meet the union's demands? Caitlin's NBC deal isn't just a career move. It's a wedge driven into the heart of the labor movement. Then, there was the viral comparison that almost broke the internet. Hall of Famer Reggie Miller compared Caitlin's game to Peyton Pritchard. The look on her face, a deadpan, "Are you serious?" gaze, became the meme heard round the world. But for WNBA players watching at home, that moment was proof of the cluelessness of the media. They saw a rookie being compared to a bench player, while they, the veterans with rings, were being completely ignored. The explosion wasn't just about Caitlin. It was about the realization that the WNBA's new era might not have room for the people who built it. To understand why the players exploded, you have to look at the bank accounts. We are currently in February 2026, and the WNBA is standing at the edge of a cliff. The CBA negotiations are stalled. The players are demanding private travel, health benefits for life, and a massive revenue share. They are threatening a work stoppage, a strike that would cancel the 2026 season before it begins. And right in the middle of this high-stakes game of chicken, Caitlin Clark signs a multi-million-dollar analyst deal. This is financial segregation. The average WNBA player makes less than a junior accountant at a mid-sized firm. They rely on the season to pay their rent. But Caitlin? Between her Nike signature sneaker deal, her Xfinity marketing partnership, and now the NBC sports contract, her net worth is skyrocketing toward $20 million. She is uncancelable and unstrikeable. If the 2026 season is canceled, most players lose 100% of their income. Caitlin Clark loses 1%. The locker room reaction has been described as toxic. There is a feeling that Caitlin is playing for herself while the rest of them are playing for the sport. When she sat on that NBC desk and said she was very confident a deal would get done, it didn't sound like optimism to her peers. It sounded like privilege. The veterans, who have spent years flying commercial and playing in half-empty gyms, felt that her comments downplayed the seriousness of their struggle. They are fighting for survival. She is talking about compromise from a position of absolute security. Sources say that several top-tier veterans have privately reached out to Commissioner Kathy Engelbert, demanding to know why the league allowed this deal to go through. They see it as a conflict of interest. How can the face of the league be an analyst for the network that broadcasts the league? It gives her a narrative shield. If she's the one talking on the pregame show, who's going to hold her accountable for her performance on the court? The explosion has created two camps: the purists, who believe Caitlin is a once-in-a-century talent who deserves every dime, and the revolutionaries, who believe the league is being Caitlin-washed at the expense of its soul. This financial gap is more than just numbers. It's the death of the sisterhood that the WNBA has used as its marketing foundation for 30 years. The one-for-all mentality is officially dead, buried under an NBC contract worth more than the salary cap of half the teams in the league. When words fail, the players take it to the court. But what happens when there is no court because of a lockout? The sabotage becomes social. Part 3 of our investigation looks at how WNBA players are allegedly using their platforms to downplay and distract from the Caitlin Clark era. This is the quiet sabotage. We are seeing fewer road games being moved to larger arenas for the 2026 season. We are seeing a Paige pivot, where the media and certain players are aggressively pushing Paige Buckers as the real savior of the game to dilute Caitlin's influence. The NBC announcement was the breaking point for the sabotage to go public. We saw Sophie Cunningham drop an honest review that many saw as a backhanded compliment. We saw veteran players liking posts that questioned Caitlin's basketball IQ compared to pure point guards. The explosion wasn't just a one-time event. It was the start of a coordinated effort to remind Caitlin that she might own the media, but she doesn't own the locker room. Inside the Indiana Fever, the tension is reportedly manageable but visible. While teammates like Aaliyah Boston have been supportive in public, the Caitlin-centric marketing of the team is creating a hierarchy that never existed before. The Fever are being sold as Caitlin Clark and the others. Imagine being an all-star, a champion, a legend in your own right, and having to wait for a 23-year-old to finish her NBC segment before the team can discuss strategy. The shadow war is being fought in the scheduling too. Insiders claim that several veterans have refused to participate in joint marketing campaigns that feature Clark as the centerpiece. They are opting out. This is a disaster for the WNBA's 2026 expansion plans into Toronto and Portland. The league needs a unified front to attract new fans, But instead, they have a fractured league where the top stars are effectively boycotting their own savior. The NBC announcement exposed the false harmony of the league. It showed that the WNBA isn't a family. It's a business where one person has a monopoly on the profit. The sabotage is the player's only way to regain some sense of power. If they can't have her money, they will take her reputation. If they can't have her NBC deal, they will make sure her 2026 season is a living hell of hard fouls and cold shoulders. The explosion we saw on social media was just the warning shot. The real battle is about to begin. The explosion was fueled by one undeniable fact: media bias. When NBC brought Caitlyn on, they didn't just give her a job, they gave her a halo. Part 4 looks at how the NBA on NBC debut shifted the power dynamics of sports media forever. For the first time, we saw the NBA royalty, Melo, Vince, and Reggie, treat a WNBA player as a peer. But they didn't treat her like any WNBA player. They treated her like the only WNBA player. WNBA veterans exploded because they've spent years begging for this kind of primetime exposure. Candace Parker, Sue Bird, and Diana Taurasi have all done media work, but it was always framed as women talking about women. Caitlin Clark was on NBC talking about LeBron James and the Knicks, why she was being integrated into the mainstream, while the rest of the league remained in the niche. This is aspirational sabotage. By allowing her to cross over, the media effectively told the rest of the players, "You aren't interesting enough for the big stage." The fallout was immediate. Fans noticed a visible drop in Caitlyn's expression when compared to Peyton Pritchard. But while fans saw an awkward moment, WNBA players saw a shield. They realized that Caitlyn has the power to go viral for a look, while they have to score 40 points just to get a ticker tape mention. The jealousy is rooted in the attention economy. In 2026, attention is more valuable than points, and Caitlin Clark has a 99% market share. NBC Sports executive producer Sam Flood defended the move, saying Caitlin is in her comfort zone, but the league's old guard argues that her comfort zone is built on the backs of their labor. They are the ones who kept the league alive when there were no NBC deals. They are the ones who played in front of 200 people. Now they are being told to move aside for a special contributor who hasn't even won a ring. The explosion also highlighted the racial and cultural divide that the WNBA has struggled with for years. Many black players in the league feel that the NBC takeover is another example of a white player being given a fast pass to legendary status. They look at the stats of players like Angel Reese, who joined her on the World Cup qualifying roster, and ask why the special contributor roles aren't being distributed more equitably. The NBC deal didn't just create a rivalry, it reopened the league's deepest wounds. We have reached the final reckoning. The WNBA is at a crossroads, and both paths lead to chaos. The explosion following the NBC announcement was the final proof that the old WNBA is dead. What we are seeing now is the birth of the Caitlin Clark Invitational. This isn't a league anymore. It's a platform for one superstar, and everyone else is just a supporting character. The 2026 season is currently hanging by a thread. The strike is looming. The CBA war is in its final, most brutal stages. And Caitlin Clark is sitting in a makeup chair at 30 Rockefeller Center, preparing for her next segment on Sunday Night Basketball. The divide is absolute. The players exploded because they realize that Caitlin doesn't need them, but they desperately need her. She is the leverage that they can't control. If a deal isn't reached and the season is canceled, the explosion will turn into a mass exodus. We will see players heading to Europe and Asia, while Caitlin remains the face of NBC's basketball coverage. She has become the ultimate outlier. The league blew it by allowing the power balance to shift so dramatically toward one person. They thought they were building a bridge to the future. Instead, they built a throne for a queen that the rest of the kingdom wants to overthrow. The final verdict? Caitlin Clark is the best thing and the worst thing to ever happen to the WNBA. She brought the money, she brought the fans, and she brought the NBC deal. but she also brought the end of equality. The explosion of the players was a cry for help from a group of women who feel they are being erased from their own story. As Caitlin continues her NBC takeover, the question isn't whether she will succeed. We know she will. The question is, will there be a WNBA left for her to play in? The NBC announcement wasn't just about a TV job. It was the moment the WNBA lost control of its narrative. The Caitlin effect is now a Caitlin eclipse, and the rest of the players are standing in the dark. The explosion has happened. The smoke hasn't cleared. And the 2026 season is the ultimate prize in a war where nobody is playing fair. The game has changed. The players are furious, and the baby goat is just getting started. This is the end of the league as we knew it. And the beginning of the Caitlin Clark era, whether the WNBA likes it or not. This has been a strictly investigative deep dive into the chaos currently tearing the WNBA apart. But we want to hear from you, the real fans. Is Caitlin Clark securely grabbing her bag? Or is she betraying her teammates? Should the WNBA veterans be happy for the growth? Or is their jealousy justified? Sound off in the comments. This is the most controversial topic in sports right now, and we want to see where you stand. Hashtag Team Caitlin or hashtag Team League? If this breakdown opened your eyes to the business side of the game, hit that like button and subscribe for more exclusive WNBA 2026 updates. We are tracking the CBA negotiations, the strike threats, and every viral NBC moment in real time. Don't let the mainstream media give you the sanitized version. Get the truth right here. Until next time, keep your eyes on the court and your ears to the ground.